Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So it's time for my art tag for the month of July. So this month the theme for the tag is contrast. Contrast. So July 2026 is contrast. So contrast, so that can be light and dark, hard and soft, whatever you want opposites to be, or just kind of really contrasting colours. That was last month, so that was the textures that we did last month. So that was just the journal that I put to one side. So seeing as it is July and seeing as it is Pride month in some places, June and July being different all over the place. I know there are some Pride events going on in August too in certain countries. I think Australia have August as Pride. But I thought I would create a tag based on the Pride flag. So I've gone ahead and created the flag on my computer, but I've also created some layers too, so that they're not just, it's not just a straightforward stick down the flag and move on. It's actually going to be cut out and layered and collaged. So I've put a brand new blade in my scalpel handle, so this is going to be very sharp indeed, so I won't have to put very much pressure on that at all. I had to scout around this morning for a cutting mat. I could not find one for the life of me. I don't use them over here very often when I'm doing my kind of like coffee break makes. Everything's already pre-cut out because, you know, that's the way it works. You pre-prepare everything, so you've got everything you need for your coffee break make. And when I'm doing kind of like art journaling videos, that kind of stuff, I tend to cut things out because, you know, cutting out isn't exactly the most interesting thing to watch somebody do on an art journaling video when they're building layers. So I've specifically made this flag, the Pride flag, fit the tag, or it should fit the tag. So I'm slightly out, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. So what we'll do is grab some glue, and I'm going to put the glue on the tag this time, because that's the easiest way to gauge where the edges are, if you glue up the actual tag itself and then lay your base layer over the top. There we go. That should do us. And then make sure I've got the red to the right hand side. And then I've got a little bit of wiggle room. Obviously when I printed this, it's obviously printed it slightly smaller because it's also short at the top as well. But that's okay, that's all right. And then we can just flip that over, and then I can just come in very gently and remove the excess. There we go. So I know that in some parts of the world at the moment there are issues for our community, particularly with the trans community at the moment. So it's particularly important to be visible, I think, particularly at this time of year. And also here in the UK there are certain councils that have had reform candidates elected that are battling with the libraries at the moment, because they're removing information about Pride and that kind of stuff, citing that libraries should be a neutral place for everybody. It'll be interesting when they come to do, you know, like International Women's Day or Black History Month or something like that, whether or not they still, you know, the banning displays, that kind of stuff, which is a bit draconian, but you know, what do you expect from a far right group? You know, libraries are supposed to be a source of information for everyone, and that includes finding out about diverse groups. Right. So yeah, there are challenges, there are battles all over the place in all sorts of different countries. You know, and I know the question's being asked, you know, do we still need Pride? Do we still need to do it? Yes, we do, because there's still a lot to be done. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll just carry on cutting these bits out, because like I said before, nobody wants to see anybody sitting and cutting loads of stuff out. So I'll whiz through these and then I'll be right back. Alright, so there's all my component bits all cut out. Now I've got to make sure I get this the right way around. It's not going to be that difficult to do it because they kind of all do line up. And they are all pretty much there we go. I've just got to make sure that I get and then do that line up with that. I think do they all line up to the top? I can't remember how I did it, to be honest. I think I did line them all up to the top. That's good. All right, okay, that makes it easier then. So what I'll do, that's my base layer. And then I'll get the next one. So if I layer that up to the top there, yes, yeah, I think that was the way that I did it. And then it's blue next. Alright, so we'll layer that up to the top too. It's not going to be perfect, but then again, it's not supposed to be perfect. And then schminky pink. All right. Then white. Okay, and then the final intersect yellow triangle. Okie doke. I'm hoping when I glue this down onto the flag from the top up there, I'm not going to lose too much, because theoretically that should line up about there. So again, let me just work out about there, isn't it? So I'm going to lose a bit up there. All right. Yuck. Good thing about that spirit glue is you can do that, you can just wipe it off. And if I flip that over now, that should be, yes. So if I just run my scalpel very, very gently through there. There we go. Okay, haha. Not bad at all. All right, so I'm going to put that to one side to dry, and then the next bit is I've got my focal point. So on my laser cutter, I grabbed some grey board, some chipboard if you like, and I cut out, well, joined the words together so that it would make them easier to handle. So I'll get rid of that now. Oh, and then I need some white paint, so I need a new foam. There we go. I've got my handle there. That will do. I'm just going to use some white gesso that I got, well, from Indigo Blue. So I'm just going to take it from the lid, and then I'm going to pounce just for coverage. It also gives a little bit of a nice texture to it as well. When it's dry, I'll hold it up so you can see. Hopefully the camera will be able to pick up. You get a nice kind of little stipple texture. I don't know whether, there you go. I think you can just see it there, particularly on the V and the E at the bottom here. Nice kind of stippling texture. And because I've done it on the grey board, it should soak in quite nicely. And I might be able to get away with not doing 2 coats. So let's put that to one side, and then I'm just grab a bit more white, and I can do some of these grungy hearts that I've also cut out. So these are the shapes that you get in the Grungy Hearts Carte Noir set. But they're usually on, as I say, the Carte Noir, which is black on one side and white on the other. But this grey board is a little bit thicker. This is 2000 micron. And the reason I don't really use a lot of grey board is because when you cut it on the laser, it's incredibly dirty. It's very sooty. The edges are, you know, you just get it everywhere. Whereas with the Carte Noir, you don't get the same soot. All right, so that's my 3 hearts and my love is love. So I'm going to quickly get those dried off and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got some Pyrrole Red from Amsterdam acrylic. Ooh, and that is probably the reddest red I could probably find. And another clean ink blending foam. Now, because I've already put white on this, it should stand out a lot brighter. Let me just grab my scalpel blade just so I can hold that in place while I go over the top with that red paint. That's one. That's 2. And final number 3. There we go. Use up all available paint. And minimize wastage. There we go. Put that away safely so I don't stab myself later. Okay, so I'll get those dried off. I'll clean this up and then I'll be right back. Alrighty then. So now I'll flip that over. And just run some glue all the way down and around the lettering. And then I'm going to pop that about there. So the white of the wording obviously pops and really contrasts against that colourful background. Now, with the hearts, if I put one of these hearts down here, that's going to disappear. The contrast disappears completely. So I'm not going to put it there. So instead, I'm going to put it over this way against the green and the yellow and the blue so that it pops from the page. It's contrasts from the page there. And then the other 2 I'm going to put at the top. So we'll place one here and the other one a bit further down there like that. Just move it up a little bit. There we go. Now what I could do is I could cut the edges of that tag so that they disappear, but I think I'm going to leave them because I like the fact that they've got the white border down there at the bottom, and it kind of does contrast against those colours on the sides anyway. I've not quite managed to get that centered up properly, but you know, you can't have everything. And it is a handmade tag when all's said and done. So there we go. So that is my tag for July, the theme, like I said before, being contrast. And once that is actually dry, I will pop the hole in there and then I'll pop it into my tag journal, which is getting quite busy. Now we're actually more than halfway through the year. So this is the 7th tag of 2026, so we are definitely more than halfway through the year. So I hope you've enjoyed watching me create this contrast love is love art tag for July's 12 tags of 2026. If you have, please remember to give the video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. That's all from me for now. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye for now.